All right, Saleh, shall we get started?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. I think we can slowly start. We have a packed agenda today.
We
And
do.
I think before moving forward, we can do a round of introduction for the folks who are either seeing probably me for the first time or they will watch the video later on. So, Pranita, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm the product manager for CDK. Hi, everyone. Thanks for making it here. Saleh?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Sadi. I work as a developer advocate in the AWS. And I focus on many things, but I'm recently in love with the DevTools ecosystem, especially with CDK nowadays.
And I'll just quickly introduce some of the CDK team here. We have a bunch of folks here from the developer team. We also have Mark Rambo, who runs CDK and Amplify. And yeah, we have a full house here from our side. Please, folks, come on camera if you can and just say hi.
Hi.
Cool. Cool. I'll get some housekeeping stuff out of the way, Sally, so I don't forget. The reason we're doing these community meetings is for the community to have a space to come and meet the folks in the team, but also get to know other community leaders. I don't think I have Matt Bonig or Thorsten here yet, but those are our admins of the CDK Dev Slack channel. The link to the Slack channel, if you're not already on it, is in the chat. And the video of this community meeting is uploaded on YouTube within a week or so, and the YouTube link is also on here. You'll find the last meeting on there already. And we also have a survey, so we want to keep improving what we present in this meeting, make it more of a community space than an AWS product manager talking at you. So we also want, really hope you take the survey and give us feedback on how we can get better. Let's see, in the agenda today, we typically try to do everything, all the demos and stuff, we try to limit it to the first 30 minutes. It's a little bit of a dream, but today we're gonna try again to keep it within that. So we'll have the rest of the hour to address any questions you might have. If you're not comfortable coming on camera or talking, you can also post it in the chat, and folks from the team can respond there as well. So yeah, that's I think that is housekeeping. Yeah, Sally, over to you.
Yeah, we have a really packed agenda, but like before we move forward, I also want to address one important point. And like there will be folks watching this later on YouTube as well, right? What would be the best way you would say for them to actually reach out to the team? Because some people are lucky to meet these amazing people, but some are not going to watch this. They will watch it over YouTube or they will join another session. So what would be the best way to reach out to the CDK people and actually, for example, show the great work that the community is doing, or simply deliver feedback to the engineers or the product people that we have here?
Yeah, I think there are two main ways. If you are stuck, or if you're having issues, or if you want to reach a developer on the CDK team, the best way really is to create a CDK issue on GitHub. That we have a very mature process there of addressing issues and responding there. If you want to meet, if you want to present something that you've built and you're really proud of, it helps other CDK users. We have Dakota here, for example, who's going to present, who's from the community, and he's going to present a really cool project that he's built. So we want to showcase at least one community project every community meeting. We also now have this YouTube channel, cdk.dev. So if you want to record something and have that uploaded there, please work with the community admins, Thorsten and Matt Bonick. Sorry, I'm gonna put their names here really soon. Oh, Matt's here.
Matt is here, yeah.
I'm assigning you all the tasks, Matt. So hello. So yeah, so I mean, they're super cool and super responsive as well. And that I think that is the best way. Otherwise, we always, yeah, GitHub is my recommended way. Second recommended way is the Slack, cdk.dev Slack.
Cool, awesome. So without further ado, we can continue with the demos, I think. And the first demo is from Ian. Hi, Ian. I think we didn't meet before, so there for the folks who are like me, I think you can do an intro of yourself and then you can carry on with the demo. And if there are any questions from the audience, please drop it to the chat and we will be more than happy to get an answer through the presentation. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, nice to meet you. I'm Ian. I'm one of the developers on the AWS CDK core team. I joined the team in January, and today I'll be demoing a new CLI command called CDK flags. So let me share screen and I'll get right into the demo. All right. Everybody see this? Let me make it a little bigger. Okay. So right now we are in a CDK app. This app is at version CDK version 2.212, which is the minimum version for this new feature, which is still unstable. So I guess I'll go into a little bit of context of what we use flags for and why this feature is important. Right. So CDK flags is a new CLI command that lets users set configuration flags for their CDK application. So this is at the application level. And generally, this configuration is set through a file called CDK JSON. So if we show you here, this is a very big file, kind of complicated, but this is what we're looking for, right? And these are all flags. These are all configurations that indicate a change in behavior. It's either a security update we implemented or a bug fix or some other behavior that we felt was important for new applications to have. However, if we implemented, would result in breaking changes to existing applications. So we gate it behind a feature flag, and those feature flags are set by default to false or whatever the behavior is of your current app, right? So your application eventually, just by the nature of this process, will fall behind in a sense. So the usual way that you're supposed to update this is through cdk.json, and that's just manually editing this file, which obviously is kind of cumbersome, is not the ideal developer experience. So one of our awesome interns this summer, Vivian, introduced CDK flags, which is a command on the CLI that lets you both interactively and non-interactively set flags to their recommended values, or you can, I guess I'll demonstrate to show you the full extent of it. But let's start by running CDK synth. And this naturally takes a little bit of time. And you'll notice that we get a little warning here that 7 feature flags are not configured. So a normal developer that doesn't know about CDK flags will get this notice. And then this very helpful message will tell you to run CDK flags. And here we'll see a chart that shows you a number of flags that are either security fixes or work that we've done on the application that we gated behind flags, right? And there are two columns here, recommended and user values. So in this application, we haven't set these values, probably because it was initialized before these changes were implemented. And the first thing I want to do is show you that this command can show you all the flags as well. So right now, this is only showing you flags that are in like an exceptional state, as in set to our not recommended value. So here we can see all the flags, and then these unset ones are now at the bottom. There is also a way to run this, interactively. So you can do -- interactive or -I for short, and then it will guide a user through this process of updating their flags. So you see we have a few options here. Let's say we want to set all of the unconfigured flags. So what this feature does behind the scenes is it will synthesize the application without these changes. It'll synthesize the application with the flags changed, and it'll compare the difference. And here we see there are no differences, and then it prompts us to accept the changes. I'm going to say no. And a few other things. And you can see that there are other options as well. If we run flags help, I just ran interactive. It lets you set the flags to the default, which is the default for your current version. Recommended is the up-to-date recommended set of flags, the configuration, and then unconfigured is for you to modify your flags that aren't set at all. Now, if you wanted to say modify a single flag, you could do something like this, right? So CDK flags and the name of the flag is, kind of verbose, but that's just how they're named. And then you pass this option value is true. And then of course we need to run stable flags as well. Oh, yes, we need to run sets. Okay. Just need to wait for it to synth. No differences, right? And I'm going to accept this one. All right, and now if we cat CK JSON, you see where this was AWS CloudFront. These are not in alphabetical order. See, we can see it's set the true. And I'm going to finish off by going back into our interactive mode and just setting all the recommended ones to true. And then I'll show you that the notice should stop appearing in CDK synth. Synth. And there we go. No warning anymore. And our app is in a good state. Cool. Looks like we have a question from Matthew.
Yeah, so let's say I've got a project that dates back to like version 2.004 or 2.4, whatever. Super old, tons of flags. So I go and I say, set all the flags to true and show me the diff. And it starts showing me that diff, and it starts showing me that there were a lot of changes along the way that happened. How does the output guide me on what flags caused what changes, so I can choose to either accept some of the flags because they didn't affect things and try to resolve issues because the other flags were set?
So you're asking for granularity on what behavior change each flag would give you for this command, right?
Yeah, understanding that that could be very difficult to get. I'm wondering, is there more like a what's it called in Git, where it does the splitting between diffs? So
Bisect.
what's that?
Like an interactive
That's
rebase.
Bisect.
Bisect, yeah. So something almost like a bisect, where it sits there and it goes, okay, here's feature flag 1 turned on, no diff. Here's feature flag turned on, number 2 turned on. Here's the diff. Okay, there's a diff. We know it was 2 that did it. But yeah, some sort of things to, yeah, like a CDK flags bisect, something so that I get some help on figuring out which flags are causing me problems and which ones aren't.
Mhm. I understand. So we don't support that right now. We support like a basic diff. So between your like existing application state and then whatever you run, like say you wanted to set one flag, or you want to set all recommended flags, or you want to set all like unset flags. But we don't have that level of granularity implemented because that would require like a synth for each flag.
Right. So it sounds like if I could do this myself with what's currently there, I would try to enable them all. I would see a whole bunch of problems. So I'd go back, say, no, don't make those changes, and then go one by one along the way. Say, okay, enable this flag, diff. No? Okay, great. Enable that. Flag number 2, diff. No problems? Okay, continue on. Flag number 3. Oh, there's my problem. There's causing a bunch of diffs. There's causing a bunch of issues. I know that flag is my issue. Sounds like that's the way I do that now.
Right, and that is kind of like unfortunate that you have to do that, but it is like, yeah, that is the way that we have it implemented right now. Certainly, like I think having it per flag would be like really helpful. I think that could be like a cool feature request that could be helpful to a lot of people, but right now that's not how it's implemented.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the feature is in unstable and we're looking for feedback. So there's a super valuable mat. You know this already, but yeah, like we want people to start using this and tell us where we need to improve with this feature.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That was the only one I got so far.
Cool. Any other questions on CDK flags? Cool. If not, then I think we're ready for the next demo.
I do have one quick question. What problem is this trying to solve other than people haven't enabled some flags? Like, what's the actual side effect for me as a CDK maintainer, as a project maintainer of the CDK? Like, I've got my own stuff. I've got 15, 16 of these projects. What's the actual side effect of me not enabling these flags over time?
Well, the side effect, it can be, you know, various, right? A lot of them are security updates. A lot of them are recommended configurations. It just depends on your needs. A lot of people decide to set the flags to values that we don't recommend, right? And that's fine. It's up to you. We want to give you that ability to control like what your configuration looks like. But we have our recommendations to basically let users know like this is what we think the default should be. So any new application you make, right, will have these flags set to true or whatever like the recommended value is. But say you wanted to be in line with what we think the most secure or most like thing that makes the most sense, or even like just a feature that we released or a fix to an old problem that might be a breaking change. We want that to be available to customers easily. And the big issue is that a lot of people don't even know about flags, right? So you saw that when we ran CDK synth, it told us we had 7 unconfigured flags. Somebody who like doesn't really know how the CDK.json works or how flags work or this mechanism at all may not even pay attention to this, and then their application could very easily fall behind our recommended configuration. So this is kind of like letting us partially notify the user that they need to make this change, or that maybe they should make this change, or at least consider it. And another part is to give them something in the CLI that makes it a little easier to make that change instead of just modifying the file by hand.
Yeah, just to add here, I think the side effect or the effect of a user first not knowing about feature flags and then not setting them is that they might be tripping up on bugs that they could have avoided otherwise, right? Like, you might not be using a resource right now that requires you to set this feature flag, but you're gonna add it at some point, and then you're gonna stumble upon a bug that this feature flag would have prevented you from.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm going to ask a silly question then. You kept saying our recommendations for what these feature flags should be. Is there any control that I have as an organization to tie into this recommendation and say, yeah, AWS's recommendation is to do this, but our recommendation is to have this off for security reasons, compliance reasons, whatever it may be?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Not yet. And this is another feature request that is quite interesting. I want to hear if there are enterprises that are super interested in injecting their own requirements here. Right now, this is just the start of trying to help manage changes on CDK construct, right? Like the changes we roll out, how do you consume them easily and hopefully deploy them safely?
I can totally see that feature request. So when I figured out that feature flags exist, because I came very late to this team here, right? I was surprised because of the concept. And I said discoverability of that concept is rather low. I would need to dive deep into CDK for a while until I figure that out. And I can totally see that some companies would say, hey, we have created our own constructs and we need that feature flag to be off always. So we want to override the default. So feature request taken. So that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
To be clear,
and-
Matt, you
Sorry.
noticed that this is for the CDK flags command. You can already override context values, what feature flags are inside your context construct tree. So if you were to render a custom stack or app for your company, or even a construct, you can set those feature flags on that level already today.
Sure, but unless a company is running Progen for all of their projects, which a lot, I'm thinking large enterprises here, you're not going to get that option. So having this mechanism built into the flags tool itself to provide those recommendations, I think would be really valuable because it allows the teams to then adopt it as they see fit with that recommendation. And I don't want to bring up the elephant in the room, but this could be used to address some of the concerns around the telemetry issue and whether or not it's opt-in versus opt-out. If an organization had that ability to, through these flags, provide that recommendation or even enforce that recommendation, then I think that would go a long way of quelling some of that fire that's over there right now. But otherwise, I think this is great. I mean, I guarantee you every one of my projects is way behind on my flag, so I look forward to seeing this.
My only main problem with that is we already have quite a few options to opt out. I don't want to have like 20. So
well, so this isn't introducing necessarily a new option for making the opt-out happen. It is just notifying people of how to disable it effectively. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry. We do need to move on. I just thought I'd mention that since it's still a fire up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
before
should save some time at the end for open Q&A as well. So I'm just trying to get through the demos so we don't lose out on those. Next one is solution, like our partner team at AWS builds L3 constructs, and we call them AWS solution constructs. They're available. And there's a demo here. I'll play a recorded video, but we do have Biff here to answer questions as well. Biff, if you are you already on camera? I can't see you. Oh, there you are. Okay, cool. I'm gonna share that.
Yeah, in the meantime, Pranita shares the screen. I want to thank Ian for the demo. Great job. Just we need to give the kudos as well. Long demo, but good demo.
Good call. All right, can people see my screen without all the things obstructing it? Yes, okay.
Yeah, all good.
Everyone. First, I'd like to thank the CDK team for the opportunity to demonstrate AWS solutions constructs for you today. So what are AWS solutions constructs? In short, they are L3 CDK constructs that launch well-architected implementations of common AWS infrastructure patterns. They are fully configurable and integrate seamlessly with L2 constructs in any CDK stack. Let's use them to launch a sample application. Our app will receive messages in an SQS queue. Those messages will trigger a Lambda function that will parse the data to update statistics in DynamoDB, but also store the raw message in S3 for later playback. Upon first glance, it may appear that this pattern only requires 4 resources, but experienced architects realize that to be well architected requires many more resources. DLQs and log buckets and VPCs and endpoints. Looking at the basic diagram, we see that 3 solutions constructs can cover our entire architecture: AWS SQS to Lambda, then share the Lambda function with AWS Lambda to S3, and AWS Lambda to DynamoDB. Let's use solutions constructs to write the code to launch this infrastructure. Here we have an empty CDK stack application with the proper import statements already included. Let's start with launching the Lambda to S3 solutions construct. This will launch a new Lambda function in S3 bucket with all the privileges and environment variables set up so the function can write to the bucket. By setting the deploy VPC property to true, we instruct the construct to create a VPC to protect all the traffic. The Lambda function is configured using standard L2 function props. Next, we'll launch the SQS to Lambda solutions construct. Note that we use the existing Lambda object property to share the Lambda function between the 2 constructs. The solution construct will by default create a new SQS queue and dead letter queue. In the same way we use the existing Lambda object property to share the Lambda function, we use the existing VPC the DynamoDB construct. Though the construct will create a DynamoDB table with a key named ID by default, you can override that with any schema you want. Let's build and launch the stack. While we're waiting, let's open the CloudFormation template to see what we've built. First, we'll search for the S3 bucket to ensure that we've launched both an access logs bucket and a bucket to hold the raw messages. Now we'll search for both the dead letter queue and the queue that will hold our incoming messages. Now we'll confirm that our VPC has 2 isolated subnets in different availability zones, and that there are 2 VPC endpoints, one allowing us to access S3, and the other allowing us to access DynamoDB. We've also launched a VPC flow log, but by now you're getting the idea that we've launched a tremendous amount of infrastructure with basically 3 simple calls. What if you need something besides the default props values? Say your processing time for an SQS message is longer than the 30-second default visibility timeout. Here we supply custom queue props to the AWS solutions construct that set the visibility timeout to 5 minutes. Solutions constructs help you stay current as best practices evolve. For instance, when the CloudFront S3 constructs was released, best practice was to implement an origin access identity between the CloudFront distribution and the S3 bucket. Then AWS introduced the origin access control, which was superior to the OAI and became the new best practice. A subsequent release of the CloudFront S3 construct replaced the OAI with an OAC, and clients stayed compliant with the new best practice with virtually no effort. For clients that want to exploit our ability to publish individual resources, we've exposed our internal functionality as factory functions that launch individual resources such as queues, buckets, or state machines. Currently, there are almost 80 different patterns published that each include 2 or more of over 20 AWS services. We've covered a lot of information in probably too little time today. If you're interested in learning more, there are lots of resources available. In addition to many YouTube videos and blog posts, You can find our documentation on the AWS site by searching for AWS Solutions Constructs. Thank you for your attention today.
Excellent. So I guess if you can put the links in here for solution constructs, that would be super
Sure.
helpful.
Let me dig them up here real quick.
Awesome.
Also, when you use the MCP servers from AWS Labs in, for example, QDeveloper, it actually uses the solutions constructs as well, which is pretty cool. When you try to do a day-to-day business thing that would have an like simply an authentication or just a REST API or something, when you try to build that up, it immediately brings back the solution, which like I wasn't aware of until I was using these MCP servers, if I'm being honest. And today it was a nice addition as well to see it in action. Do you have any questions from the audience about it?
Since you mentioned the MCP server, we should also put in that link if people don't know about it.
Yes. Let me do that.
Thank you. Yeah, if there are no questions, we can move on to the next demo. Dakota, would you like to demo live or would you like me to play the video?
I can do live.
Okay, cool. Go for it.
Sweet. Let me get my slides pulled up. And let me share. Sorry, 1 second.
Quick
Actually, yeah, if you want, I need to restart real quick. I'll be right back.
I can play the video.
Apologies.
Okay. Quick plug is we post a monthly blog post on everything that's new on CDK in the last month. So I also try to highlight the community work there as well. And I usually work off of the cdk.dev Slack to find content to highlight. So please reach out to me on it. Tell me if something really helped you or something that needs to be called out. For saving time, I think I'll just play the recorded demo that Dakota sent earlier. Let's see. This is fun. Do you see the right screen? Shoot, sorry, 1 second.
Yeah. And Dakota is back. So
Oh, it's back.
yeah.
Okay. Am I good to take over or need a second?
Go for it.
Cool. Okay. All right. Well, as you've now heard multiple times, I'm Dakota. And today I'd like to talk about how we can rethink our processes when it comes to managing env files. So if you've worked in operations for any amount of time, particularly with like web applications, more than likely you probably have more than a couple horror stories working with env files. It's something that typically lives, in your repo. Every developer has to maintain their own set of env files. And if you have multiple environments, you're going to have, a file per environment. And there's kind of quite a few difficulties that can stem from working in this way, right? For instance, we have like dirty data. For us working in the AWS cloud, oftentimes like when you have ARNs, maybe you put a partial ARN and you needed a full ARN. Maybe you mixed up characters in the ARN. And additionally, once you actually bring these values into your application, oftentimes you lose the ability to know what that value is supposed to be. You typically just have, an opaque key and then some kind of string value attached to it, right? But at the end of the day, it's 2025 and we want to be worried about our users, right? So to try and come up with a better solution, we first need to identify like who these files impact. So first of all, internal users. So you have people like myself and others that are actually working on the code that are going to be deploying our resources. And using the old .env processes leads to complications, right? So as you see here, you have red squigglies of doom.
You're not sharing your screen, Dakota.
Oh.
We don't need. I thought you were doing an introduction, so that's why I didn't want to interrupt.
Sorry.
But when you see here, I'm like, I'm missing that.
Good call.
No worries at all. So far, so good. I think everything was clear, but for this, we need to see this. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Carry
Helpful
on.
if you can see the red squigglies. Doom. But as I mentioned, so red squigglies, so we're trying to access, one of the aforementioned configuration values attached to our process. And unfortunately, due to however our project set up, all we have is string or undefined. And so essentially it's pointing out, you're kind of taking a shot in the dark. This could be here, this could be not, and you don't really know what the underlying data is supposed to look like. Let me click back into here. There we go. And then due to this, there's even complications that can impact our external users. Say, for instance, as part of a deployment, you're switching from one queue to another, and you typo, copy paste error, what may have you. And all of a sudden, your queues aren't wired up correctly, going into production, and there goes the system, right? And along with that, you have lost data. Now, all of a sudden, messages that were supposed to be going from place A to place B aren't going there and can't be processed, right? And then additionally, you have things like security vulnerabilities where for instance, maybe you were configuring everything statically to deploy to a VPC ID that you had in an env file, and you put the wrong ID and all of a sudden everything's in public access, right? So lots of bad things can happen when you get your configuration wrong. So I would like to paint an idealistic moment where hopefully we all start to take our env values a little bit more seriously as part of our operations. So an ideal solution would be, we're a little more wary of those configuration values. We treat them as external data sources. We provide transparency to our users, our internal users, sorry, so that they know what the actual shape of the data is, whether it may be an ARN or a number, just more than a string, right? And by way of that, we would increase our runtime reliability so that these things don't bleed out and impact our users. So I'd like to introduce a little project I've been working on, safe TS env, and the get env function. So this, in combination with Zod, allows you to define data structures that can parse the JSON files that used to be your env files and make those both available in memory as well as type checked as part of your build process. So obviously we're here as part of a CDK community day. So what would that be without some CDK? So this is the ideal situation of how you may wire in this get env function into your CDK applications. So you would just pass the path to your JSON file along with that Zod object to the get env function, cram all that together into an object in memory, and then pass that as stack props to the stacks that you're deploying. So by doing this, few-line change somewhere up top towards the top of your CDK project, you've now gained compile time safety. So where your env values are getting used, they should be checked as part of your synth process and the TS build process. Again, your DevOps pipelines, your CI/CD should be failing faster and hopefully even locally. So we're not even pushing that into true CI/CD systems. Your developers get a better experience because, again, they have more intuition and insight into, the shape of your environment values. And it also becomes easier to sync them across multiple where you're managing a series of those env files. You now have the ability to say, this is the structure for them and keep them structured similarly. And through all of that, we should have better end user experiences. So thanks for listening. Got my socials over here. My blog here in the middle, and that was me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And if you could share your socials and everything in the link, we can also keep it for later as well. But thank you very much. Are there any questions for Dakota? All right, then the floor is actually open for any question, right, Pranita? Or
Yeah, let's do it. What's on people's minds? How can the CDK team help?
Is this the time for the open questions? Not regarding to the .env file. I have some other general questions. Can I ask here?
Please, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have started here for a long time, so I have 5 questions in total. It may take around 10 minutes or something.
That's okay. Go for it.
Yeah. Can I don't know if I have permission to share my screen.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So give you guys a little bit of context. So my story starts from the discontinue of the Copilot CII. I used to use this service to deploy all my website platforms, and they discontinued this service in early this year. So I migrated all my infrastructure to CDK, and I started started using it from July, and started learning it in the June, even earlier. And now currently I have 3 main source of tools for learning that. One is the README file on the GitHub, and the official documentation, and also the CDK. There is a Git repo called CDK samples. So I learned from these resources. The reason why I want to give you share this, because if there's something missing that a more valuable or a better approach to learn it, just let me know. Okay, here my questions start. My first question is, okay, show you guys my current setup. So suppose I have one full stack application, web application. I don't know what's the background of everyone. So if you have heard Next.js, it's now becomes to be a full stack template or a starter kit, which means front end code, back end code both run into one single repo. So which means if I want to use CDK to control that, I have 2 repos, one CDK repo and one application repo for front end and back end code. So I have tried many approaches to do it, but there's only one way I make it successful is I put everything into one pipeline. It's a CDK pipeline. But or you may ask, well, how? If you put everything into one single pipeline, how do you deploy your application? It's running under the ECS pattern API. It's an application load balancer Fargate service. But I think this is a wrong approach. I would like to split the CDK repo and CDK pipeline separated from the application code. The biggest question I have for now is, how do they share the variables or the resources generated from the CDK? Okay, so for example, I deploy my CDK pipeline first to generate all the required resources, including VPC, ECS, ACM certificate, or some other resources. I wonder, how do I get those resources generated from CDK pipeline and use it in my application pipeline? Do I make myself clear here? Anyone understand me?
I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah. Okay.
I can try to rephrase what I understand. If it doesn't make sense, please correct me. In the simplest term, I think what you said last was the question. The question was like, you have some values, variables, resources that you generated, and you want to pass those into the Next.js application, and you're asking how you can do it, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, right here, so for now, I only have one pipeline, which is a CDK pipeline, and in the deployment stage, I deployed the application code using ECS pattern API to deploy that. Actually, I want to separate these two repos: one CDK repo for a CDK pipeline, one application repo for application pipeline to make it a fully separated and decoupled so that they can do their own job. For CDK pipeline, only manage, create, update resources. For the application pipeline, only update the Docker image and deploy deploy the application on the ECS. Just push the new image. I thought that would be the best practice.
Yeah, like overall from the full stack perspective, yeah, like having your backend infrastructure separated from your front-end deployment flow is the good, like best practice, if I'm still understanding correctly. So from that side, yeah, you're right. Like you shouldn't have one single pipeline doing both backend and front-end deployments, because sometimes you will have deployments on the front-end side that would not require backend deployment, and you simply shouldn't do it. This is one thing. You can also, overall, generally what we do is like multiple different approaches. One approach that you can have is you can turn this into a chained flow that if there's a change on the backend side, you can run the front end side automatically, or you can run them manually as well. So how you do it is, like, I'm not the biggest expert on the, like, let's say on the code. I'm seeing code commit overall, so I'm not the best expert on this one, but what we generally would do is like just deploy everything, get the resources out of the deployment, and pass it down into the new process through, for example, environment variables and so on, and save it to the ecosystem and use it when it's needed. So this is something that you can do if, again, like maybe I'm missing the question.
Okay. So yeah, so I know I will pass the resources. For example, a ESC instance or a application load balancer instance to the application pipeline, so then the application pipeline can update the image and push the new image and deploy it. So I have started the best practice carefully, and there are two approaches to do that, but I still not sure how, because if you look into this, so if you have two stacks in a different CDK, so for example, one stack, which is a CDK pipeline stack, we use this pipeline to generate all the resources. And for example, I generated a resources in the CDK pipeline. It's ECS. It's ECS instance. I want to use this. I want to pass this instance to the application pipeline, so the application can deploy it using the ECS. This is
I mean,
what. Yeah.
I think I understand. I think this is right now. I think this is not an answer that we can give like quickly or immediately. One thing that I would say is like, I think you should ask the question maybe on Slack to get other people's opinion as well. Or for the best practices, suggestions or recommendations, you can check out the GitHub or ask as a question over there to get an answer as well. Because I think for like, first of all, there might be other questions as well, so I want to be mindful about the time. And secondly, like right now, it seems like we're missing some point. Maybe like it's about the like pipeline, maybe it's about something else. So I would recommend maybe going to the Slack for this one. That would be really
I just
valuable as well. Yeah.
Fico, I think if I'm saying your name correctly, Fico,
Yeah,
I
it's
think
correct.
this needs like a deeper dive. So I sent you my email address on Zoom chat. Send me the description of your problem, and I'll try to get the right people, and we can talk over a meeting. I think that would be more helpful.
Thank you very much. Because like you just like I said, I started doing this 2 months ago, and have already started on this for several months, and I really
Yeah,
try to solve it. Yeah.
It's great because we also want to understand the problems people starting off on CDK run into. So this is a great question. I think this is just not the right forum for it to go deep into it.
Okay. Yeah. Also, Sally just mentioned that the Slack, because I have already joined the Discord server of CDK. I wonder what, maybe based on what Sally told me, that Slack is better place to
Yeah.
ask questions, or because you have mentioned that if you got some question, you can post it on the GitHub. I did, but it's not, because the issue section of the GitHub is not very good place to demo my source code, or have a bigger image of what I'm having now. So yeah, I wonder. Yeah, so maybe I should use Slack.
I think the Slack is great as well, because it has a lot of these experts from the community who probably know a lot more about, ECS or how they move from Copilot to CDK. So I would definitely recommend the Slack.
Okay, yeah.
If
Yeah, please go ahead.
if you don't get an answer from there, you can also find me on the Slack. There is a, please ping me, worst case scenario, you and I jump to a call one-on-one, and we can try to understand and how we can give you some guidance on the best practice and everything. And
Yeah.
you can just find me on the Slack as well. Feel free to ping me over there, okay?
Thank you very much. I would even like to pay for that. I really want to solve that problem. And one more question I have. So, for example, when we develop a, for example, we develop a web application, we could debug it here. But for the CDK app, when we do CDK, when we run the command CDK sense or CDK deploy, we don't really find the runtime error there until the pipeline breaks. We know, oh, there's some logical error or something like. I wonder if there are some kind of tools that we can test the entire infrastructure locally on my machine, instead of, until we deployed it on the cloud, and they created many resources, and finally they give me an error, and I have to destroy the entire CloudFormation template, and then I need to fix that and redeploy it again. I wonder if there's such a tool. If there's no such a tool, it's okay. I just out of curiosity, yeah.
So we are making improvements to what we can do locally, but there's only so much you can validate locally. You have to look at the current state of your account. You have to look at what's deployed there, and compare what your application is changing to that. So unfortunately, I think the best validation will only happen server side, but we're trying to speed that up some more. And I think if you follow the CDK GitHub, you'll keep an eye on the RFCs, and you'll see a proposal from us come up soon.
Okay, yeah, no problem. This is also one of my suggestion here. Maybe just give the users some installer or some package, so that they can install the AWS infrastructure locally, so that they can run their testing template and test it in the local device. But I know it's a very, very, very complex feature or request, and but yeah, and never mind. Just my suggestion. Yeah. So that's all my question. Can I find your email here? In the group chat. Have you posted?
Yeah, I actually direct messaged you.
Oh, okay.
on Zoom.
Thank you.
can do
Thank you
that.
very much. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's all my questions. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. 3 more minutes. Anyone else have a quick question?
Cool.
All right. So the
We-
next session on this is in 12 hours or 11 hours from now. And will be run by Sally and our CDK community hero, Johannes, is co-hosting. One of our asks is if people from the community want to help co-host this session, please let me know, or please let Sally know. We would love to have you help us run this better.
Also, if you work on something cool, please share with us, share with the community, because this is how you grow as a community as well. Because when people see what you build, they will get inspired, or simply, they will learn a lot to bring their ideas into realization. So please encourage others to join as well as join yourself. I think the title says it's a community meeting. We are here to help you out. We are here to give you the stage or the audience that would actually appreciate your work. So please reach out to us and be part of this great call that we do for the communities.
Right. Thanks all for joining. You'll see the videos uploaded on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.